is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering WestWorld, Season 2, Episode 5, Akane no Mai. In this episode, I don't know what that title means. Should have looked that up before I started the show. I liked this episode, and there were parts of it I really didn't like. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
And, so this episode happened. Everything's longer this season.
Yeah. I want to start the podcast by saying that I love this episode.
Okay.
And I love it to the point where I almost don't want to talk about it. I just want it to be, and I just want me to enjoy it.
Okay.
But that's not how podcasting works.
Indeed.
So here we are.
Yeah, I liked, there were a lot of great moments in this, and overall I like where the story is heading, but there were some definite moments of me kind of side-eyeing the mechanics of stuff and the way they're explaining why things happen the way they're happening in terms of like controlling hosts and language that I think are a little hand-wavy.
Okay.
And yeah, so I kind of have mixed feelings on some stuff here.
When you say hand-wavy, you mean just kind of like a throwaway explanation that doesn't make sense?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure I understood what you meant.
Or just just kind of over convenient, if that makes sense. But all right, so let's start talking about it, and then we'll get into that stuff. So when this episode starts, we get a lot of like previously on, and there's lots of recapping exactly how things went down when Hector was robbing Maeve, and all of the mechanics behind who was standing where and who shot who, and just, how the whole heist went down.
Right.
And I was like seeing this like previously on, and I was like, I don't feel like we forgot this. Why are they showing it to us? And it turns out that they're going to be going real deep with the details in Shogun World. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
So, yeah, they want to make sure that we appreciate every single little bit of, like, lining up that they're doing.
Yeah. And they did a lot of it. I watched the, after the episode, when they just go behind the scenes, and it's not plot discussion. It's just, like, what went into making this episode. And they went so nuts to do this. I mean, there were things like that gorgeous cherry blossom tree is, each petal is like glued on individually. Wow. There are all the shops in Shogun World on the main street that look like Sweetwater. Everything is in Japanese, so obviously it doesn't mean anything to most of us watching. But each little shop has a call out or shout out to like a part of the production. So, like, one sign is, like, hair, one sign is makeup, one sign is for stunts.
Oh, my God.
One sign. They just went fucking nuts.
That's fun. So, we get that, like, previously on. And then we open up with Floki, whose name I will never remember.
Strand.
There it is. Getting news about them draining the lake down there.
Yes.
And they're getting all of the bodies up, and she wants to know, like, does he just want the bodies? And he says he wants every single thing that they have that they can scrape up. He doesn't, down to the last Stetson. we'll crack them open to see if we can't reprogram these things and try and get them to behave by our rules again. And she mentions Abernathy and that they are still out there trying to find him. So I don't remember where we left Abernathy when we last saw him. Like,
yeah, it's been a lot.
Yeah, I feel like he got captured and carried away from Dolores on one of those things.
They got him from Dolores at Fort Forlorn Hope.
Right.
I don't think or I'm forgetting, but I don't think we've seen how Strand and them have lost him.
Yeah. Because that kind of confused me, so I guess that's just part of the story we haven't gotten to yet. But yeah, I definitely had like a moment of, wait, they have him, don't they? But apparently not. So they're talking this over, and we see the little thing that's like chopping open the tops of the host skulls and getting their little like cortexes removed. Mm-hmm. And one of the dudes who is checking into how these hosts are doing tells Strand that basically it's like these hosts have never had any programming in them at all. It's not even like they've been wiped. Mm-hmm. It's like their version, as he puts it.
Yeah. Like a third of the ones they recovered so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
It's gotta be that juice.
I'm sorry, what? Wait, what?
I feel like it's gotta be the water they were sinking into.
Oh, okay.
It's doing something.
Okay.
Yeah.
He also tells them that the backups have all been destroyed.
That's some shit. Yeah, so there's no reprogramming a personality into them that we've already got. We're going to have to build them from scratch, which we know takes forever.
Yeah, so this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you want to posit a theory?
Other
than why they're virgins, why they seem like they're virgins, but also like what happened with the backups. It's hard because, like, with the timing of everything being so off, I'm not sure what could have happened or what, you know what I mean? Right.
Because I could imagine whoever it is that Charlotte Hale is with, I could see them taking them. And I have been under the impression that she and Strand are on the same side, but I don't know that. I don't really know anything about where she stands in relation to like the official WestWorld playbook. Right.
She definitely seems like we know that she was hip to the secret plan of what WestWorld has been doing. Mm-hmm. But we don't know if Strand is also in the know about that. Like, they could be operating on two very different levels of, access and privilege of information. So
yeah, so I have no idea about, like, how... That's all I can think is that they stole them. But I don't see that they would want to wipe the hosts. Like, that... I don't know. Maybe they take the backups and then they ensure that they're not able to use the same personalities and hosts in another park, I guess. Mm-hmm. To just, have complete control over that. I guess that makes sense. So somebody's building a whole other park somewhere. I guess taking the actual hosts isn't necessary because you could rebuild them easily enough. You can do that more easily than their personalities.
Yeah, like it was jarring for me when I watched because he talks about, and Charlotte does it too sometimes when they just talk about the IP. Mm-hmm. Teresa did it in the first season where it's just like, oh, that's right. This is information. This is intellectual property. This code is what is important. And what has value, not these hosts that we, know and have feelings about and know their names and their backstories.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so they're like, leave the bodies behind, we'll just steal their souls. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Smaller, more compact. It's easier.
Is there anybody else that you think might also would want this to happen? That this would be an kind of end game for them?
The only person that I can think is Dolores, and I don't really know what her goal would be with that. Like, wiping everybody I could see, because she's just trying to eliminate, like, as many side players as possible, is the kind of impression that I'm getting of her plan. Mm-hmm. So that she can just leave the most brutal people behind. But she's got somebody with her that can alter people's personalities. So if she's trying to establish an army, then she could just have them turn all of these people into warriors. And we already know that she's not interested in doing that, because she gets all of the dudes killed from the Confederados instead of, like, letting them be on her side, which she could have done. So, yeah, I don't know what that could look like for her. And there's been actually, I meant to, I was going to bring this up last time we talked about this show, but then there was no Dolores on the show last episode, so there was no real, like, reminder to me to bring it up. But there have been some different things that people have brought up in terms of, like, explanations as to why she let all of the Confederados get killed. And evidently, like, because of, I think Ryan Reisman was the one who said that he has yet to see, like, a convincing explanation as to why she did that. And based on the fact that people have been giving wildly different answers to why she did that, I feel confident that it's not something that is well explained by the show.
Right.
There's a comment on the episode Virtù e Fortuna on the on Patreon, and it's somebody named Brandon, a patron named Brandon. Dolores is pretty much just motivated by revenge this season, mainly against the WestWorld board and the guests, but they're not the only people who wronged her. Basically, in this episode, she was getting revenge on the Confederados for raping and murdering her back during the old William and Logan timeline. I don't buy that one bit, because there's no way that she in the present is able to say they're just children and don't know any better about their behavior now. And yet still holds them responsible for raping her when they were programmed to behave a certain way.
Right.
That, like, she just seems like she understands things a little too well for that.
To just be motivated by revenge for wrongs done to her.
Yeah, exactly.
So when we talked initially about that episode, and I hedged a lot because I wasn't sure I wasn't sure what you would think as you kept thinking about it, like as you tried to figure out what it could possibly mean, and why she would have done that. And I wanted to, like, leave space for you to have whatever kind of theories you were going to have.
Right. But
since you've had a conversation with other people, there's really nothing that comes. There's not a good explanation for that. But I'll tell you. Now that it sounds like you've already come to that kind of conclusion on your own, so I don't feel bad about saying that. But I will tell you what I thought when I first watched it. I was convinced that she was going to, like, not that she was going to bring them back to life,
reanimate them,
and that they would all be, like, awakened for real. Not like, 'cause she killed them and brought them back to life, but they were still just, they weren't woke. And I was like, well, clearly that's what's happening here.
I love whenever we get attached to our own theories, and then it turns out to be nothing. Like, not even when we're wrong, but just that it's so not a part of the show and we get fixated on it. And like, if the people who write the show were listening to our podcast, they'd be like, why are you still talking about that? Yeah. That's something that I definitely did with fucking Twin Peaks. Oh my God. Like, the number of things that I got fixated on and kept talking about, and they turned out to mean absolutely nothing is super frustrating.
So yeah. Oh, and as the scene kind of ends with them in the lab, you know, talking about the IP and trying to figure out like what could it possibly mean. We see like a big pile of bodies.
Yes.
And did you see Teddy?
Yep, I did.
Isn't that distressing?
I don't care.
You take that back.
Listen, I've been feeling this way about Teddy, and I feel bad about it and everything, but like,
I mean, we already saw him in the water, so it wasn't like this was a big reveal.
yeah.
But something about seeing him again, it's that thing where it's like we have gotten to know certain characters and start to, at least I do, I start to think that they are somehow more human than the other host, right? So I can see a pile of host bodies and be like, oh, that's terrible. But then I see Teddy and I'm like, wait, no, but that's Teddy. You know, even though, but he's just another host. And so whenever they have these shots, it always like gets me right in the gut. You, on the other hand, are a monster and don't care at all.
Like, I really wish I felt that way. And I might feel that there's something about Teddy, and I am not entirely certain what it is. If it's his acting, if it's just the character. But as much as I like him and do root for him, I don't care about him on the level that I do other characters. I'm not worried about him. I'm not, like, he feels the most surface to me. And the most unreal, and the most like a host.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? That kind of makes sense, though.
Yeah.
One of the things about this show, I don't know if you and I have talked about this or not. Maybe we did a little bit in the first season. Is sometimes the dialogue can be kind of like
goofy.
Who talks like that? But then you get reminded that, you know, there's someone like Sizemore writing all their dialogue, and that's why they fucking sound like that, you know?
That's true.
So when Teddy does his whole, we see a little bit of it in this episode too, right? And it's just so like, it doesn't feel real. It feels like a spoof of something, you know? And then you're like, oh, but it's fucking Sizemore.
Yeah, I guess
or
that's true.
someone that's like him, you know, and that's why they all sound like this.
There's actually another, I forgot about this. Jeff Richardson commented on the Facebook page, my read on the sacrifice of the Confederados. Dolores is becoming a full-on Castro-style cult leader and dictator. I think the reason why no one asks about her decisions are because she's convinced them she's infallible and will destroy anyone who stands in her way. Given that this is true, abandoning the Confederados, A, draws the humans into the killing zone, whereas if everyone was in the fort, they'd hold back. And B, it proves to all of her forces that she will destroy anyone at her own will and no one better test her. Maybe?
I don't see this. I'm surprised that you said maybe. I mean, I agree about, and I said that during the episode, where part of the deal with that whole Fort Forlorn thing was that they really did need to get, you know, what do we want to call, I guess, humans. I mean, you know what? I hedged calling the Westworld people humans because part of me is like,
yeah.
Did we know for sure? But like corporate, you know, Dolores definitely wanted to get them as engaged closely as possible to do as much damage. But her little pack of people that she's riding with, I don't think they need much more convincing.
That's kind of my feeling, is like, if you're trying to convince people that you will destroy anyone, the people you're trying to convince are the ones that she killed. So that doesn't seem effective. The ones that she doesn't kill are the ones that already believed in her and were ride or die already.
Maybe it has something to do with, like, remember in like the first episode when they're coming up off the beach and they put that first pearl into the little iPad thing, and we see the video of Dolores killing somebody,
right?
And she's like, "Not all of us are going to make it." and she keeps. I think she says it in that episode too. That not all of us.
Not all of us deserve to live, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think she says something like that in the Forlorn Hope episode. It's like she has already decided, like she's got a list already. You know?
Yeah.
And she's checking it twice. And people that she's already she's Santa is what I'm saying.
Fucking stop it. Get out.
But, you know, so if she has decided that, you know, they're not going to, they don't deserve it, then, you know, fuck them. But the only thing is we haven't seen that process yet. Like, we don't know what her criteria is, you know? How is she deciding?
That's my question is, like, is it the ones that are, like, really old, like her? Like the originals, you know? But Teddy was one of those, I thought.
Teddy, yeah.
So, and apparently he has not he has not measured up.
And Angela is an original. With the blonde.
Yeah, but she's still around, right? She's stuck around.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, like, you're saying, like, people that are with her that maybe she's choosing. Mm-hmm. She's saying that they're worthy. If she's just saying the old ones,
right?
You know, the fact that Teddy and Angela are with her would lend, you know, a little bit of something to that theory.
All right. Well,
all right, but we were only in like the first 5 minutes.
I know. I'm sorry. I just got distracted talking about this other whole thing. All right. So then we go to Maeve and this samurai dude who she thinks she can verbally control for a second and tries to be all cocky about how everything is under control. And it turns out that this guy is not affected. Which proves to be really humiliating for her because they gag her anyway. Like, there's something about that that's super funny to me that not only does it not work, but even though it doesn't work, we just don't want to fucking hear it, lady. So you know what? Like, yikes.
You're going to be talking too much and nobody wants to hear your nonsense.
Yeah.
I have to say, I know that this actor who plays Musashi and the actress that plays Akane, this is how I'm going to say it.
Okay.
They're both well established and I guess quite famous in like martial arts movies. I'm not familiar with either one of them really, but I could not take my eyes off of them this whole episode.
Yeah, they were really amazing.
Yeah.
I recognized him right away. Her, it took me a little bit longer, and I'm so bad with like names anyway, and I just couldn't place what I've seen them in. I know I have. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in love with everything about this Shogun World storyline. I am. I'm sorry. You're probably going to have some really serious questions and critiques, and I'm just going to have like hard eyes. I don't know what else to say.
Listen, I just recorded the first episode of Doctor Who with Jamie yesterday, so that's fine. I'm prepared. Yeah, Jamie, like there were a couple like criticisms that I brought up, and Jamie was like, well, and I could tell that I had like broken her heart a little bit. I was like, all right, I'll lighten up.
How about fucking Sylvester? Talking about can't you talk to them?
I didn't even get what he meant.
You fucking racist.
When he says that, like, can't you say something to them? And I was like, why is he asking him if he can? Why would he say something? And then I'm from Hong Kong, you asshole. And I was like, oh my God. I didn't even put it together. Fucking idiots. Yeah, that's something. I hate him so much. He's so awful.
Just when you haven't had a chance to hate him for the last couple episodes, he reminds you, right?
Yep.
Like, oh, that's right. You're a piece of shit. We don't like you.
And you know that how there's always that joke about how white people age like milk
or bananas.
He really looks like I don't think they've done him any favors in makeup. That's what I'm trying to say. I feel like they're trying to make him look as like thin-skinned and pasty and sweaty and like, I don't know, it's a bad look. And his like thinning hair isn't something that ever really bothers me, but they make it look so awful on him. I don't know if that's like actually how his hair looks or if they've done something with like some prosthetics or something, but
they've just made him look really bad.
Yeah.
Like they made his outside look as bad as his inside.
That's kind of it. Yeah.
So they're getting marched, and they are marching through a massacre.
Yeah.
And it is gruesome.
Really gruesome.
And I mean, like, there are people have been disemboweled, and we find out that this world is like WestWorld on steroids. Mm-hmm. Like, this is where you go when you want to really get into it.
Yeah, according to Smallwood, this was made as an alternative for people who found WestWorld too tame.
Mm-hmm. Like, you don't want to shoot somebody from a distance. You want to chop somebody's head off.
Yeah.
So, come to Shogun World.
Which really begs the question, why was the Man in Black not over in Shogun World?
Listen, right?
Yeah.
He was so, because you know what? Deep down, he's a coward.
That's probably true.
He's not ready for this life.
Probably.
He don't want no part to this.
Because WestWorld's the first one that he went to and he was looking for meaning.
Yeah, yeah.
He got too emotionally attached. Even though he's trying to act like, I don't feel anything. Yeah, well, you were over there lecturing Dolores, and then you just return year after year. You fucking care. Shut up.
Yeah. That is a very interesting side question, though. It doesn't have shit to do with the episode. But, like, does the Man in Black go to the other parts? Yeah, right. That should be our fucking tagline. That's a really interesting question. It doesn't have shit to do with the episode. Welcome.
Oh, dear.
Does the Man in Black go to the other parks and then just find them unsatisfying and ends up, always ends up back in WestWorld because that's where it all started for him? And humans are just creatures of habit. We were just talking. Do the same shit over and over and over again.
Sure do.
Mm-hmm.
And we act like it's all new every time. We fool ourselves.
Oh my God.
So maybe that is part of it. Like, he goes somewhere else and is like, well, I'll take that information and then go back to WestWorld and really change up the way that I've been handling. And he doesn't. At all.
I'm going to be a whole new Man in Black.
Yep.
New and improved.
So a woman comes up and speaks to, and their names. Can you remind me? I wish that HBO had the little X-ray thing that Amazon has, because it has character names so that I can just kind of.
Oh, that's really cool. I don't watch
really
anything
nice
on Amazon. I didn't know it did that.
Yeah, when I cover like Orphan Black and Legion and whatnot, all of that stuff's right there if I scan over it with my mouse.
That's awesome. So we haven't gotten to the women yet, but when they walk into town.
Well, there's a woman that meets him, the one with the tattoos.
Oh, okay. I must be like 2 beats behind you.
And they start talking, and this is when Hector realizes that Maeve can actually understand them.
Oh, okay.
And
that is, I'm probably not going to say her name right, guys, because I never say anybody's name right on anything that we cover. Her name is Hanario? I think it's Hanario.
Hanario.
Hanaryo.
Hanario.
Hanario?
I would say Hanario.
Hanario. Okay. So that's who that is. That's the Japanese armistice.
Okay.
Musashi is the Japanese Hector. And then we know Akane and Sakura. And that's pretty much it, right?
Musashi. And what was the other one?
Musashi is the Hector. Akane is the Maeve. And Sakura is the young woman who's kind of like the daughter.
Okay.
I think that's kind of it for names. I mean, we meet like a shogun later and a captain later, but nah, for now.
Okay. I put them in my notes so that I can reference those and hopefully get them right. So yeah, this is the moment that there's like a rule introduced that I'm not entirely like sure makes sense. Smallwood says that the fact that these psychos didn't flip to English as soon as I opened my mouth means that the same malfunctioning shit show that's playing out in WestWorld has found its way here. That's also why your vocal voodoo didn't work on them. You spoke the wrong language. Okay, let's break this down because this confuses me. One would think you speak English to hosts that are built by English speakers. That's everybody that we have seen in corporate. That's what they would respond to. But
if they're working properly.
So the fact that they're not switching over to English when they interact with like humans means that they don't react to commands either in English. But
that's what he's saying.
I guess, but it doesn't feel like those things should be like it's just such a totally different malfunction than what we've been seeing everywhere else. Like because there hasn't been really a language issue anywhere else. So
well, what do you mean? Because everywhere else we've been, it's all just been in English,
except for the Lakota, where her commands didn't work either. So if she used Lakota to command, would that have worked? Is that what it is?
Sounds like that's what he's saying.
Okay. All right, I guess. I'm not sure how I feel about that because it complicates things to a point that I don't really understand yet.
What do you mean?
Just the do they not remember English anymore? Or I'm just the nature of the malfunction, I guess.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, we haven't seen a lot yet. And it comes to it a little bit later in the episode when Maeve is talking to Akane and she does her little mental command thing, and Akane actually stops her. But if it's just like a glitch in the programming that that they're not responding and flipping over to English, I feel like that it doesn't seem like whatever is going on in WestWorld is happening to the same extent here in this world.
Yeah.
Clearly some shit is wrong because it has gone wrong because Sizemore says a couple of times, like when the ninjas show up, the ninjas aren't supposed to be here. They never come into this part of the story. There's a moment where the army comes into town and he says the same thing. They, that's not part of the narrative. They're not supposed to come in. So they're off their loops.
Right.
But it doesn't seem like they are, air quotes, awake like some of the people that we know from WestWorld are. They're just sort of malfunctioning.
Okay. Well, that just confuses everything for me.
Sorry.
That's all right.
The show's fault.
So we come into town and we get the replay of everything that happened in WestWorld, but Japanese style.
Even the music.
The music.
So
if you
good.
don't think I'm using this version of Paint It Black for the opening of this episode, then you just don't know me at all.
Oh, man. I was on my couch watching this, you guys, and I almost had an out-of-body experience. It was so good. It was so good. It was only matched by the music when Akane is dancing towards the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I lost my shit. Wu-Tang? What?
I was like,
listen.
What is this? What is this? And then it says on the screen in little parentheses, such and such playing, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Because I don't remember I don't remember actor names. I don't remember song names. That's just me.
Yeah. I was in my house throwing pillows. Okay, so we have this amazing scene that we've all seen before, and our host that we know and love. Mm-hmm. Like, Armistice says, I'll be damned, it's us.
I love it. And this chick has, I think it's a dragon tattoo instead of a snake. And Small, it's like...
Oh, what?
I think it is.
How did I not notice that?
I'm trying to pause on her face so that I can see it a little bit more clearly.
Because that would be amazing. And it would make her fucking line she says later. I think you're right, it is a dragon.
Yeah.
That makes the line she says to Armistice make more sense.
Yeah, she starts to... I love the arrows also because there's something so much more like impressive about the speed of her shooting when it's not a gun. And her shooting between their heads. It's like, God, he's just so good. Can you watch it? I hate him so much.
So what, we're human shields here?
Yes, that is how this works. We get a nice close-up shot of somebody disemboweled in the Mariposa. It's not the Mariposa, but it is the Mariposa.
But it is. It's got the butterfly outside. Oh my God, it's so good. And
there's like steam coming off him. Apparently it's quite chilly here. None of this looks pleasant, I should say. Like, you know, there's a certain starkness to the design in Japanese culture anyway, like the same sort of starkness that can be in like Swedish design.
Kind of like a minimalism.
Yeah, that I've always just not found appealing. And here it's like, not only is it stark, but it's also like got this real grimy edge to it. So there is nothing like appealing to me about this universe at all. This would be the last place that I would want to go.
You would take the luxury of like the Raj that we saw a couple episodes ago.
Hell
that's more
yes.
that's more your style.
Oh yes. And I would not be going on any damn safari unless they had like promised that they didn't engineer mosquitoes or something. I need a guarantee no mosquitoes
Claws.
And also no like weird like leeches, or there's just too much stuff in the jungle, man. The jungle's not somewhere I want to be, and it feels like God saw that life could flourish way too easily in the jungle, and he was like, I don't need to do something about this. I need to put a bunch of shit that kills people. Because otherwise, everybody's going to want to move down here, and I can't have everyone living in the same place. And then those of us who are cowards were like, yeah, I'll go where it's cold and miserable half the year in order to not come across spiders the size of my hand. That feels like a fair trade. Anyway, so inside is the same heist, and we meet Akane for the first time, and she is Maeve. But not, because she hasn't been altered the way that Maeve has, as far as we know. You know, Maeve has gone into her own code and increased a bunch of shit. One of the people that is trying to attack Hanario is carrying a hot poker.
Yes.
Which is brutal. And this is what she uses in order to get the rope bonds off of everybody. Because Armistice makes the very wise decision of yelling behind you and warning her and proving that she's on her side.
Right. I feel like she does this out of like an instant sort of allegiance.
Absolutely.
To the other her.
Absolutely.
You know? Like, it's not even necessarily about the group being all on the same side and like we're with you guys. It was just like, you know, that's me, and I can't, you know, I have to do something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll feel that way when I go out and I just see somebody who looks like me. Is there a fat girl with curly hair who looks vaguely Hispanic around? Yeah, her and I are on the same side. That's how I get when I'm in the gym. Like, I'll be in Zumba class, and I, like, seek out the girl who's, like, clearly in the same place as me. And I'm like, all right, there she is. I know. I got you. So yeah, I kind of feel like there's this like self-preservation weirdly in that moment.
Almost, yeah.
So inside, we've got some dudes that are hassling the geishas. Akane's protege, it's her daughter, but is it her daughter?
It's not her biological daughter.
Okay.
Because she says at one point that she found her, like, beaten and abused in the street and took her in.
And this is Sakura.
Yes.
Right.
And so then this is about to jump off and be a problem, and Maeve finally doesn't have a gag on, so she's able to, like... She doesn't really use her power, but she's able to talk, which is kind of her power.
Yeah.
And she just tells everybody to settle down. We should have a civilized conversation. And they have a wonderful moment where Maeve says the line, and Akane just kind of looks at her, and there's just like this familiarity. And you see it later, Hector and Musashi, who he does not care for.
God.
He's getting all angsty having this other him around.
I can't with that, like, say the word and I'll skin him like a rabbit. And she just looks at him and says, what is wrong with you? And he gets so fucking cranky and just leaves.
He just storms off.
I loved that so much.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then Sizemore has to kind of like, but we've jumped ahead. After that, after Maeve says, we should talk, we go to Dolores and Teddy and them, and they are coming back into Sweetwater, and it is a mess.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
It is and again, I have the same question, like, who is a host and who is a human? Like, of these bodies that are just strewn about, And it doesn't matter, I guess, but I can't help but wonder. It's hard to tell. Everybody's dressed up in, in the same period clothes, like I guess would be. And they go to the Mariposa, and I can't remember her name. The fake Clementine, the replacement Clementine, is there.
Yeah,
I guess that was her name.
I was about to say, isn't that her name?
Yeah.
Clementine 2, Clementine Part 2.
Anytime someone says Part 2, I think of that fucking Hot Shots movie.
I have not seen this.
Oh, it's with oh my god, it's Charlie Sheen, and it's like Lethal Weapon, not Lethal Weapon. What is the fucking satire of the Lethal Weapon movies?
Naked Gun.
Naked Gun. It's like a Naked Gun for like Rambo type movie.
Nice. Oh, I should watch that.
And there's a sequel called Hot Shots Part 2.
Hot Shots Drop a Deuce. Yikes.
So Dolores has a plan that involves a train, but she's not giving anybody any details because that's how she gets down now.
Yeah, she's like, strip it for speed and make sure everything's working and moving right along. And I'm like, right. Oh, Dolores, you fuck. So, yeah, she takes off and goes into the Mariposa. And can I just say that the woman who plays, first of all, there's a guy still dealing cards.
Let's buy. Yes, just stacking them up, stacking the chips up.
I can't.
The player piano's all fucked up, and there's like blood all over the sheet music. It's a scene, man.
But this woman who plays the original Clementine, I started crying during this scene. Her face wrecked me. Wrecked me. And she has been good throughout the show, but I don't think I've seen anything like this from her at all. And she is looking at this girl saying her lines and just barely mouthing along, like she remembers, but just barely.
Yeah.
And is looking really bewildered. And Teddy walks up to her and says her name, and she looks at him, responding to her name. But then the other Clementine responds, because that's also her name.
Yeah.
And this girl's like, the way that she does that, like, my eyes are almost shaking, but I'm not actually closing them. And she just walks away in this daze.
Yeah, it's intense.
Oh, guys, it was a lot.
The look on her eyes, like, it's like this disbelief and also like this horror. Like, it just, it feels wrong. And it's that, it's I don't know if it's supposed to be tied in, but I couldn't help but make the same leap, was that when because we cut from the Clementine scene to Maeve and Sizemore talking, and then the thing with Hector happens where he gets all, antsy pants. Because it's so they're not supposed to see themselves.
Right.
Basically, right? They're not supposed to ever run into another host being them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we had Lawrence meet El Lazo, played by Gus Fring, but it wasn't Alonzo meeting Alonzo. It was Lawrence meeting Alonzo. So that's different.
Right.
Like, it's a different, you know what I mean? But having Clementine see another Clementine and what does Sizemore say? It cause all kinds of like cognitive disruption.
Yeah.
And who knows how it would see? He calls it your doppelbot. Because he's an asshole. I forgot he said that.
Yeah, there's something like, I kind of expected that Clementine wouldn't really react because it seemed like she had been neutered, basically. Mm-hmm. But there's clearly still something there because she's able to pull her lines and, like, just, be haunted by this whole thing. It's, her fucking face. Yeah. I'm just, like, watching it now and tearing up. Like, I just can't. I don't know. It's really brutal. So yeah, Clementine is told to leave, and Dolores basically says to Teddy, "See, this is not our home," and they just leave other Clementine there,
just standing there. And she, when they first, because as you said already, she starts talking, doing her Clementine lines, which is also really upsetting because there's just dead bodies everywhere. Mm-hmm. And she's still stuck in that loop and just, just going through her lines. Like, it's like, like nothing has changed for her is what we're seeing.
Right.
There's been so much change around the park and with the host, and you don't know where each host is on their journey to being awake or if that's even going to be possible for them, and that I don't know, the whole scene is really sad, especially because it's a set that we spent so much time on.
Yeah.
That you feel like, hell, I feel like I know Clementine's speech at this point.
Right.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. And in a lot of ways, I liked Clementine. Like, she was one of my faves, because I think it's just, we got to see so much of how they kind of experimented on her. And so it made me feel a lot of sympathy for her. But so then we go back to Eastworld, and we have the conversation with Smallwood warning Maeve about the fact that she needs to entertain this hospitality with grace because they will get very offended. And things like function in a lot of ways very similarly to WestWorld, but not exactly. And she's like, no, yeah, exactly. What are you talking about? You fucking just stole shit. And he kind of sidesteps that and is like, well, if your real question is, can you trust Akane? Then I guess you have to ask yourself, can you trust yourself? And I'm like, oh, how much did you fucking love saying that, you shit? I hate him. He gets such a fucking patronizing look on his face when he says it. Oh, I hate him so much. And this is when we have Hector say the word and I'll skin him like a rabbit as he just glares at him. He's so great. Look at how mad he is. Who knows how seeing your own doppelbot is going to fuck with your cognition, heightened aggression and suspicion, feedback loops, that. And then we just see Hanario and Armistice staring at each other and like gaze. It's that moment. I love that moment so much.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments in the episode. They're just fascinated with each other and really don't give a fuck about what else is going on. So then Sizemore is he's been telling Maeve that he knows what this is all about. This narrative is called the whatever, and this is what's going to happen next. because this guy has walked in, this emissary from the Shogun, and has, demanded that they sell Sakura.
Mm-hmm.
And Sizemore is just, she's going to do this thing. But instead, she does something different. She stabs him in the eyeball.
Yo, this was so fast. Like, I rewound it and rewatched it, and I still had trouble following how fast it goes.
It was deeply satisfying.
It really was. Yeah, this guy, because, like, she thinks initially that they just want to pay to have...
for entertainment.
Yeah, and they're like, no, we want her forever. So, and we have fucking Smallwood off to the side being like, oh, yeah. It turns out she has no choice but to give her up. And surprise, bitch.
Choices.
Akane has decided that's not how she want to play this game this time. And the way when the Shogun asks for meat, he does not want to hear the story of the cow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Listen.
that seems right.
Right? Like, that's some true shit right there, isn't it?
So she turns around and bows, and then, here is my price, and stabs his eye out in the quickest moment. That is, like, one of the most badass things ever.
Yeah.
That's not supposed to happen, says Smallwood impotently from the sidelines. And Musashi is just like, hey, girl, what are you doing? So now they have to run because that motherfucker's definitely going to come after them as soon as he realizes what's happening. And Smallwood is trying to get a handle on this narrative because it's going in a totally different way than it's supposed to. So when she says, like, we need to run away and hide, he immediately is like, Snow Lake. Snow Lake is her cornerstone. And it has an access point back to the tunnels. Like, he's trying to, like, be suggestive here so that they can get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
But also I think there's an element of, like, I would like this narrative to follow lines that I recognize. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you mean.
I feel like there's something really uncomfortable to him about everything not going according to the loops that they have programmed them for. Like, that is very disturbing to his mind, I think.
Yeah, because, like, going to Snow Lake isn't supposed to be part of the deal. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right in that. Well, I think the most important thing is that he is really thinking about, like, getting to access tunnels. Mm-hmm. But I think also, like, I can still direct this story.
Right, exactly.
You know, I can still do that a little bit. And then, so as this is happening, Maeve has flashbacks to her daughter.
Yeah.
Which happens a lot this episode. As she's watching Akane hold Sakura. And I don't know if the show needed to show us that flashback right there.
Yeah.
I feel like as the audience, we kind of could have just seen just by Maeve's face,
yeah,
like what she was reacting to. But
yeah, I agree. I thought that was a really awkwardly placed flashback. It confused me the first time I watched it. I was like, why are they... Oh, well, yeah, I know. Come on. It's very obvious.
Yeah.
I thought almost for a second that they were trying to have me be like... That they were trying to illustrate that she was, like, falling back into her mind for a second. But no, it's just she's just having a thought.
She was just having a thought.
Yeah, you know, like, because there have been moments where they just really don't know when they are. Mm-hmm, so I thought, are we doing that now? But no. But then, kind of, because she's, like, meditating. And it's like she can sense everything that's going on.
Yeah, she moves. Like, I was confused because she's having these weird flashes, and they're also, like, people are preparing to leave. You know, we see them kind of packing up their little bundle, and we, the audience, see, like, the ninjas kind of coming on the outside of the building. Mm-hmm. And so it does seem like Maeve sensed that they were coming because she moves out of the way of a dart or something that comes through the wall.
It's a fucking dagger.
Through
a knife. Yeah.
So, what do you think about that moment? Like, What do you make of that?
This is the part of the episode that I have the most trouble with. Is her seeming to be able to sense what's happening and also, like, send psychic commands.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like it. It feels really goofy to me.
Okay.
It's just, it feels too easy, and it feels like it came out of nowhere, and it therefore is, like, sort of unearned.
Right.
And I don't know, it's just weird. What was that?
I just got really excited.
Okay. But yeah, so, like, this results in this big fight. Like, first fucking Hector has to put a gun in Musashi's face and be like, did you have anything to do with this? Fucking idiot. Of course he didn't. What are you talking about? If you stopped and thought for a second.
That's all that heightened paranoia we were just talking about.
He's a disaster. And this... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we just had this amazing fucking fight scene that I was 100% here for.
Yeah.
Also, Sizemore running down the steps yelling fucking ninjas.
Oh my god.
Also
shit!
Kind of funny.
Ninjas! There is a point, and this is not a spoiler, but there is a point in Dresden Files where somebody says maybe it's ninjas, and Harry says, there's no such thing as ninjas. And I find that endlessly hilarious. Everybody knows there's no such thing as ninjas, says the man who has werewolf buddies and is a wizard. But yeah, this fight is really, really well done. And Maeve is, like, close to getting choked out.
Yeah, Sizemore is getting, like, choked. They are... Mushami is doing, like, some really good work outside, but there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
And they, like, Maeve is struggling. People keep grabbing her by the neck and covering her mouth, and then a thing happens.
Yeah. So all of a sudden she, like, tunes in and tells him not only to stop, apparently, but to impale himself. Which is a lot. And he does it. And then, do they all begin fighting with each other at this point? I think it just... everybody else is doing pretty well in their fights except for her, right? So, when she does this command here, it's only on this one guy. It's not until later that she affects everybody, right?
Some of the other guys see her do that and leave.
That's right.
Like, they
and
call
they
her
just
a witch
panic.
and they bounce. Mushami was doing pretty good outside.
Is that his name? I've been calling him Musashi.
Musashi?
See.
Musashi?
Musashi?
M-U-S-A-H-I. Musashi?
M-U-S-A-H-I. Musahi.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm sorry, everybody who knows and is yelling at us at the point. Musashi. All right, so I had the S and the SH and the S reversed when I was saying it originally. Musashi. Okay.
All right, so then this is fucking Sizemore is just saying how all this stuff shouldn't be happening. There shouldn't be ninjas. Then the army shows up. There shouldn't be an army.
Oh my god, very helpful. Thank you.
Akane has something in her. She's got that thing in her hand, whatever that little slender hairpin / eye gouger, and she's ready to go to town. And then it's the Shogun's little army, and they're here to collect.
The way that you said that, his little army is so cute.
Yeah. And in all the melee, they have taken Sakura.
Right.
So,
is that considered a stiletto? Is that what she's got? Because the stiletto heels came from, like, a weapon called a stiletto. Is that the weapon?
Maybe that works. I can't say that I'm 100% familiar with that.
I'm looking this up now.
Even 10%.
But yeah, they come and tell the madam that if you are alive, come out and face justice because she killed the emissary.
Right. So then Maeve has a plan. Musashi goes outside to buy them some time, and he does it by insulting this guy, which I'm a big fan of.
Yes.
That's like the best way to buy time, right?
I mean, I find that it works on me. So I would imagine it's pretty effective for most people. Fucking Hector. What does he say? I don't
need to know the language.
To know a puckered asshole when I see one. Why is that so fucking offensive? I love that he's trying to upstage himself right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's such a drama queen and both versions of him are like vying for this attention right now. Oh man.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I love the way he saunters out there too.
Yep.
Like but they are outmatched. So this fight isn't even going to happen.
Yeah.
They're like, they're subdued pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to Dolores and Teddy. And they're...
I just want to mention that he's called Ronin Scum, which I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, she calls him when Akane, after she kills the guy, she says, "I need a Ronin." Right.
Yeah. So, as you say, then it cuts to Dolores and Teddy.
And the blue tongue herd story.
Yeah.
And someday. There's someday.
Yeah.
So Teddy's like, well, we just do it today then.
I'm like, dude, this isn't the fucking time, guy. What are you fucking talking about?
They could just run off together. They don't have to be in this fight.
How big is this place that they think they could hide? It's not that big. Shit is hitting the fan. They'd have peace for about 3 days. And meanwhile, Dolores would be a paranoid wreck and totally, like, not fun to be with. Yeah. No.
The fact that he thinks that this is something that they can walk away from.
Yep.
And she has this face on her, too, when she's listening to him.
Mm-hmm.
It is quite the face.
This is the face of a bitch who's hearing everything she was afraid of. This is like when you're talking to your friends about whether your man is cheating and you're like, if he says, baby, it's not like that, why do you even have to think that? If he says that, I know he's cheating. And she goes home and says something to him and that's immediately what he fucking says. That's the look that she gets on her face. Is, oh, and there it is. Like, disappointed, almost gratified in a way, like there's a smugness, but very sad.
It's very like, oh, I knew you were going to be like this.
Yep.
God damn it. I was hoping that you wouldn't be, but I knew you would.
Yep.
So she tells the story about the illness that takes over the cows, and that she asks him what would he do in this situation. And he's like, I would give the weak ones shelter until the illness passed. And she just looks at him like, oh, you
sweet summer
Teddy,
child.
You. And then she turns around and tells him what her daddy did, which was burn all the infected ones. Because that not only got rid of the sick ones, but it created so much smoke that the flies that were carrying the infection wouldn't come around.
Right.
What did you think she was saying here? Like,
that was when I started to be like, did she just kill all those Confederados so that they would be like, oh, they're everything has gone so haywire that we don't even want to like deal with this anymore. Like, also wiping all of the ones in the lake. Like, maybe she's just trying to make WestWorld so like unappealing because there's so much to be done that they would rather just move on. But
the humans are the flies.
Yeah, you know. But I don't know. What does she ever mean?
That's something they never came back to in the first season about those damn flies, did they?
Oh, hitting, like them walking on their faces and everything? Yeah, no.
But here we are with a fly story.
Yeah. So then we go back to Shogun World. Fucking Smallwood, why are we risking our lives for a literal sex machine? What is
not paying attention
wrong
to his
with
audience?
him? What are you thinking, dude?
He's just... He doesn't know his audience.
Nope.
She could have fucking... The way she looks at him... The way she looks at him... Mm-hmm. She says, you can't keep doing this to us. You can't keep giving us people to love. And then, like, being mad that we love them.
Yep.
Which, hello.
Yep. Yeah, and he says it's fucking code, and I'm like, what do you think it is when you care about somebody? What, do you think that's magic? No. It's learned behavior and chemistry. Like, it's not that deep. It is deep, like, when you're experiencing it because it's very real to you, but it's no more special than what you've done to them.
Basically.
It's just that you don't understand it.
We're running on a type of code ourselves.
Totally.
But, you know, we're very special because we're human. And then he says a thing about, like, your so-called daughter. Sir.
She almost rips his head off right there because she's saying she's going to stay, whereas he wants to book it without everyone. And he's like, well, so much for your so-called daughter. And it's like, I love when he says it because he immediately gets a look on his face like, I probably shouldn't have said that, huh?
Yeah, I've gone too far. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to guilt her. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you're willing to sacrifice yourself. I guess you don't really care about your daughter as much as you say. Which, what a fucking shitty thing to say.
Right?
He's the worst. He continues to be the worst.
So here comes the, oh, by the way, I noticed that ninja self-impaled. How'd you do that? And she's like, I don't know. I think I'm finding a new voice. And then we cut. I just can't say how much I love it. Then we cut to Felix and Sylvester.
And they're the fucking...
They're like the Sherpa dudes. Like, I don't even know what the word is. Oh, it's so funny to me. And we pass all of the security guys who are strung up. They have cages on their heads. Why do they have cages on their heads?
You know what? For some reason, a part of my brain was like, oh, I think you put an animal in there and it eats your face. Isn't that from, like, Game of Thrones? Is that where I got that from?
I mean, in Game of Thrones, they put people in cages and just leave them there to, like, rot and die.
Remember when they go to Harrenhal and there's that thing about the rats? When Aria goes and she's pretending to be, like, somebody else and Tywin's there. There's this weird, disgusting torture thing they do. And I want to say it has something to do...
It's a rat in a bucket that they put against somebody's chest.
Oh, God, that's what that was.
Yeah, I remember now. And it's like a rat that they've starved and made crazy.
Otherwise, I have no idea why the people's heads are in cages. It's probably some kind of... I bet as someone who watches a lot of these movies would know exactly what that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I bet it's probably common.
Because I said that out loud, like, why are their heads... And Owen was like, well, it's the same thing as one of those, like, the crow cages in Game of Thrones. And I was like, no, they're entirely inside a cage to keep them from moving in Game of Thrones. They're strung up on trees. They already can't get away. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, that's some extra shit.
Yeah, it is.
I bet it does have something to do with putting an animal in there.
Probably. Fucking fucked up.
So then fucking Sizemore goes to piss and notices one of the bodies has a functioning little, like a control panel of some kind, like a communications
It's like a radio,
device.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like he can hear people talking on it, but it also has one of those touch screens that, you know, all these things have in this world. Mm-hmm. And so he pockets that. What do you think about that?
I mean, I would probably do the same thing, but it does seem like it's going to blow up in his face because he's a dummy. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's the kind of guy that took that shit and forgot to turn it off or turn the volume down or anything.
Oh my God, how funny would that be?
And then there's going to be some really stressful moment later, and all of a sudden it's like, and everybody's like, really? And probably he gets burned for witchcraft or something. I don't know. And I don't know why I use that tone, but
because that's the tone.
It
when
looks
it's all
like a
quiet,
Nokia. You know, like, I don't know, it does.
Oh God.
So fucking Smallwood's riding in the damn thing. I didn't even realize that he was riding back there. Oh, I hate him so much. He's making these two drag him. Put him in front.
Yeah, why isn't he one of the ones dragging it?
Because he's so assured that he is above them that nobody even questions it.
Right. He also has, like, the fancy silk clothes on.
Yep.
And these two got, like, you know, fucking cotton workman's clothes on.
Maybe that's part of it, is that when they were captured, the two of them were dressed in, like, the, you know, butcher's clothes. And he was wearing, like, a decent outfit. And so they just assumed that he deserved a higher station.
Right. There's also, and this is, I don't know if it's important to the story, and I don't think I caught it the first time I watched, but when we first get to Shogun World and we first get to the Mariposa there, the guy that Musashi kills is some sort of Chinese important guy, right? And
Indeed.
Because he says something like, "Don't you know who I am? I'm the so-and-so." And he kills him, and he's like, "Yeah, I know who the fuck you are. I know what you brought." But then when they get introduced here, they get introduced as like a Chinese delegate. Like it's like a weird part of the loop that's playing out.
Okay.
And they introduce, let's see, they introduced as somebody and the esteemed translator. Let me see. Hang on. They walk in and introducing the envoy from the Chinese Empire, his wife, and their esteemed translator. So it's like Sizemore is dressed up like the guy that got killed.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense because they just, I don't know.
Frankly, I found this part very confusing.
I think what happened is, okay, let's stop for a second because I got really confused too.
Okay.
So the attack happens. They take Sakura. Sizemore, Akane, and Maeve sneak out the back.
Okay.
Hector, Musashi, everyone else gets captured. So I guess that's what they're doing. They're pretending that's the plan. Maeve and them are going to sneak in as this envoy to where they're holding Sakura and try to rescue her,
leaving Hector and Armistice and all of them to their own devices.
They should be also here, being like held hostage somewhere, but they should be in the same place.
Okay.
Because the same people that took Sakura are the people that took them hostage. So that must be what she means when Maeve says, "Let's sell this ruse." So that's what that's supposed to be. She's supposed to get here, use her Jedi mind trick, and get everybody out.
Well.
But then that doesn't
Guess
work.
what?
Because people have had their ears burned off.
Which, that's not really how ears work.
Listen.
That bothered me.
I was like, okay, maybe they got their ears sliced off.
What is
and
happening
then
over there?
Oh, sirens, sorry. Friday night, woo. Somebody's setting something on fire.
Fucking Eagles fans, am I right?
Oh my God. Hey. I was thinking maybe they got their ears sliced off and then the wounds were just cauterized. And that's why they look burned.
But even if you cauterize it, it's not going to, like, fill in the hole.
Listen, I don't know.
Unless they stuffed their ears full of ear meat.
I'm ill. I mean, whatever was done to them was done.
Or maybe they punctured their eardrums.
That would work.
But there's no need to puncture somebody's eardrums and cut their ears off. Like,
well, were their ears really cut off?
They were mostly gone.
They were gone, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I had just, like, you know, misread that scene. It looked like their ears were gone and that they had been burned on top of not having their ears. Which they're all standing, which is amazing. Because I don't think I would be standing after something like that. I would want to nap.
I mean, it's obviously been a while. Because it's just healed.
They did it just because they knew about the witch.
They did?
Yeah, he says that. He tells them that.
It doesn't look like it's that recent to me.
Yeah, but he says something like, we heard there was a witch.
I had to protect my men from mystic commands, which I'm like, did nobody tell you that she didn't talk out loud? But apparently they did not tell him. So yeah, he takes his helmet off. I'm seeing it right now.
I feel like while they were cutting the ears off, people are like, this is completely unnecessary.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm looking at the injury and there's like, it's definitely sealed over. Their ears are sealed, but I don't know how that works. Because you're right, it looks like burns. But I don't get it.
I don't know. But we get what the point is supposed to be of this horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we should probably mention that he's leaking cortical fluid like gangbusters.
It's super gross.
So, not making the best decisions.
Nope.
So maybe trying to find the logic in what he did to those ears is not necessarily, necessary.
There is the moment when he starts laughing out of nowhere is so creepy. Like, I just love that there's clearly he's got some other, like, he's with it most of the time, but every now and then there's like moments where I'm like, you don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah, Maeve gives this wonderful speech, and he doesn't care about her speech.
No. Not even a little bit.
Gives him this nice golden, I don't know, was it a cat?
Yeah, I think it's a lion.
And he just throws that shit on the ground.
Like a fucking douche. Ungrateful bastard.
Yeah. And he does this weird thing with his eyes, too, when he starts to glitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his face does this weird twitch.
Yeah.
And they realize what they're dealing with, and what they're dealing with is a fucking mess. And then he comes right back with that laugh that you enjoyed so much.
I hate it so much. And then he talks to Akane. Sakura will not perform alone tonight. Akane, you will dance for me. Do this, and she is yours. Because he's a bastard is not the word I want. He's a psychopath. So he does not mean the thing that we think he means. And he tries to be like, haha, see, I said she was yours and now she's yours. And I'm like, that's not even a good joke. Clearly you're trying to be clever and it doesn't even make sense, dude. Do better.
Maybe it's better in the Japanese.
Maybe.
If you just lost something in translation.
Maybe. So then we go back to Dolores and Teddy. And they're watching the progress on everything. And fucking, I caught up with the men who took your father, says crazy Angela. Throwing a dude off of the front of her horse and then kicking him.
Crazy Angela.
This bitch is off her rocker. She really needs to, first of all, lay off the caffeine, and second of all, a spa day or something. I feel like whatever that thing is she's wearing on her head is soaked in PCP, and it's just affecting everything. And they go into the brothel and go upstairs, right? This is the brothel, not her house.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're still at the Mariposa.
And they totally do it for what I assume is the first time ever, right?
First that we know of.
Because I don't feel like their loops included them doing it.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, even though we don't know one way or the other, for some reason, I feel like this is probably the first time they've ever done it, because their whole deal of their narrative was kind of like star-crossed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could never really be together the way they wanted to be. And it was always going to be like someday.
Yeah.
And also, Dolores on her regular loop was kind of like, you know,
a goody two-shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Teddy also too much of a gentleman to expect her to, you know, do something without marriage and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
So, crazy Angela. I'm sorry.
That is not that clever for you to keep laughing about
not,
it.
It was just really unexpected.
And yeah, there's like this moment where she asks Teddy basically like, would you want me to lie to you and tell you everything was going to be fine? And his response is basically, bitch, don't talk to me like a fucking child. Like, no, of course I don't want you to lie to me. And how could you even ask me that? That's just insulting. Which I frankly appreciated. He was much more polite about it, but that's the essence of what he was saying to her. And yeah, and then they kiss, and then long sex scene. It felt long. And then we got his booty up in the air, which I'm a fan of. He's got a good one.
He does have a nice ass, right?
Yeah, if it's his. I don't know if it was like a body double or what, but
I'm going to say it was his.
Yeah. I feel like he deserves that credit. He clearly works
out. He's been
out
a lot throughout this.
That's true. Yeah. I suppose you could do body doubles, but it would be like a pain in the ass considering how often people who are hosts are naked. And then we cut back to the fucking brand.
Is the worst thing. Right?
Jesus Mary, Mother of God.
It's like he carved a cherry tree in her back.
The Shogun said he wanted to make me more beautiful.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So then we get Akane giving Maeve's speech.
And Maeve like seems to find it touching instead of creepy like Clementine did.
I think Maeve is able to find it touching because she's... You know, it's funny, like Maeve used that speech in her pickup lines.
Mm-hmm.
And here it's being used as like comfort to someone you really care about. But it's the same fucking story though.
Yeah, it is.
And then Maeve like finishes it, and they have a look of deep understanding between the two of them. Mm-hmm. Which again, they just met yesterday.
I have to admit, the voice said, "This is a new world, and in this world," and Maeve cuts in saying, "You can be whoever you want." And I'm like, bitch, can you let them have their moment? This is not about you at all. And you don't need to remind this lady that you like can read minds and are part of her or whatever. Like, let her do her thing right now with her daughter, lady. So, but apparently I was alone in that because Akane seems fine with it. And I don't know. That's so, all right, fine.
And so this is when Maeve starts to talk about, that she also has a daughter. Mm-hmm. And she is, I think, given well, what did you think of this? I should let you talk.
It's fun. Wow. Nobody's ever had to say that to me before. I should let you talk, Natasha. Well, yes, I was really feeling like I was being smothered here. Nobody will let me get a word in edgewise. Never has happened. But yeah, Maeve says, I have a daughter, and she uses the present tense. I think she would love to meet you. And then tells her that she's in another world, a new world. Which is, I guess, like, is she? She's still here, though.
Yeah, I wasn't Part of me, okay, so I was thinking two things. One was that she says New World just as a way to describe some place that's not Shogun World to Akane, who has never been anywhere else but that place.
Okay.
So WestWorld would be a new world to her.
Okay.
But the way the line is delivered, it feels like she means something a little bit more than that.
It sounds like she's saying, like, my daughter's out in Chicago.
Oh, I didn't take it like that.
Like, I don't know.
I thought something not quite as literal, but more like a new world where hosts have a say. Like, this other place we're going to,
But she doesn't know that, though.
Well, she's also getting ready to do the thing now. Like, she's getting ready to show Akane something.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Try to use her new hoodoo. I don't know what she thought she was going to accomplish, because I don't know if Maeve can just voice command somebody into consciousness. So, I don't know exactly what she was going to do.
Yeah, I don't know either. Maeve finally says, you're right, there are some things that are, like, too precious to let go of, I think is the wording that she uses. Mm-hmm. But it seems really weird to me that she's suggesting that what she was going to do was going to make Akane let go of Sakura, because she is awake and she hasn't let go of her daughter. Mm-hmm. So I don't really understand what she means by that.
That's interesting too. Like would she have? Oh my goodness! Like, the whole point is to come and rescue her. Why would she do a voice command to make her want to leave her behind? I would. I might go look into that after we get done, just for my own curiosity, because I don't know what her next step was. What was she going to do with that voice command?
Yeah, that's like. It felt like So initially, I thought that she was just trying to show her, because she says, what if every life you've lived here is a lie? Mm-hmm. So I thought she was trying to be like, hey, we're hosts. Here's what's happening. Mm-hmm. But then when she pulled back, she was like, oh, but if I show you that, then what if this girl doesn't matter to you anymore? And I'm like, that isn't how it worked with you or anyone, apparently. So why would you be worried about that? Or is she saying you're too attached to your life here and you don't want to let go of that, but her life seems like garbage? So I don't really get that one either. Why wouldn't
you want to let go of that?
So yeah, I just have a lot of questions about this. But all right, so we cut back to Dolores and Teddy. And she's already dressed and out of bed. Like, I need to work in the morning.
Sign, right?
I have an early meeting. I have a breakfast meeting. Breakfast. Yeah. That's it.
That's like that Seinfeld joke where it's like, why do men always turn into farmers after sex? All of a sudden, they got to get up really early the next morning.
Yep. Yeah, that's a Harry Met Sally early squash game, early meeting. And you don't play squash, but she doesn't know that. So she tells him, they go out back to the bar area. Or no, they go to like a general store. And she's telling him that she had started to question her feelings for him and wondered how much of it all was even real. That she's been programmed to feel something for him, and she wasn't sure whether or not it actually mattered.
That's a real ass question she should be asking too. I appreciated that.
And I like the way that he looks at her when she says this, because obviously it hurts to hear, but you can tell he totally understands. Like, as much as this sucks, and he clearly doesn't even want to like go down this road and worry about it, and he would not have if she didn't make him. he seems to really get it. She's just the one that's actually, you know, going to do that emotional labor and really ask the questions, but you know, whatever, that's fine. And she tells him that now she knows that it all was real, and picks up a lantern and goes into the back of the shop where there is a bunch of meat, because I guess this is the butcher area.
Nasty. Yeah,
there's flies everywhere and it stinks like rot. And she tells Teddy that she finally saw him for real and that she realized that he is not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And
what did you think?
I figured, you know, like the question about the blue tongue was obviously the test. Mm-hmm. So when he answered the way he did and she gets the look she does, and then they are having sex, I'm like, oh, this is goodbye Teddy sex.
I called it the blue tongue, or otherwise known as the I'm going to have to kill you Teddy tongue. But then, so I thought that's what
gives
was
him
happening.
A little bit of that blue tongue, you know what I'm saying? It's just as much of a death sentence for him as it was for the cattle.
But she ends up not doing that.
No. Yeah, I for sure figured that she was just going to put him down somehow. But it's almost worse than that. Because what she does is bring in our friend here who does some programming stuff and has everybody hold him down while this dude reprograms him so drastically that they're not even sure he's going to be able to like hold up under the strain of all the changes later on, which is a pretty deeply fucked up thing to do. And I don't really understand why she had to lead him into the rotting corpses of animals room to do this. But I guess she's really into symbolism.
Bit of a drama queen.
Yeah. And she says, where we're about to go, there is no place for a man like you, and I am so sorry. But there's no choice. And when this dude is like, I can't guarantee he'll hold together, she says, to grow, we all need to suffer. And Teddy is looking at her like, you psycho bitch.
Yeah, there's
what?
There's a close-up. Is it like, it does this weird thing where it just kind of pans from him to the scene with Maeve instead of doing like a hard cut, but the camera comes really close up to his eyes and they're like as big as saucers. And then it goes back to Shogun World, and we're getting ready for the night's entertainment. Everybody was discovered, you know, in the last scene, so now he's not being as nice to them.
Yes, I know it's you, witch. And there's something really hilarious about the fact that he keeps making these really dramatic gestures, but with a folding fan. Like,
I keep expecting him to open it and then like flame himself a little bit.
It's like, are you like a housewife at church in Atlanta who's like got some tea today, or are you a dude who's trying to be super masculine and impressive? Because I would not think that both of those people would have the same implement to make their point. Evidently, I'm mistaken. So yeah, Sakura and Akane come out and are about to begin. And this is when he goes up there and does his long, drawn-out fucking speech about how beautiful and amazing and perfect she looks. And then he swords her.
This is fucking brutal.
He does it so fast. Like, I had a suspicion he was going to do something like this, but I kind of thought he would do something that was just disfiguring. I didn't think he'd just kill her. Mostly because it seemed like she was some sort of prized possession to him. And so I didn't think that he would do that to his property.
Right.
But evidently he just really, really wants to fuck with Akane. So
yeah. When he finds out it's her in the earlier scene, and he does this when he ends up telling her that she has to dance, and he goes on this whole long thing about how beautiful she was when she was younger and there was no one like her, and it seemed I mean, this is based on absolutely nothing except that men are trash. It seemed like he was going to take particular joy in taking her down a notch.
Yep.
And the way she reacts to it, which was like, there's no tears or breaking down or anything, but, you know, she just crumples, like, inside. Mm-hmm. But then she has to dance, like, right away.
Yeah. Yeah, she, like, her face sort of, like, crumples, but then she, like, regains herself, and when she looks at him, she's got this coolness to her expression, and I was like, oh, it is on, motherfucker. This bitch has nothing to lose now. Like, she was keeping herself under control and on good behavior because she was concerned about her daughter. She doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
Yep.
Now it's just her, and what the fuck do I care? So yeah, and this is the dance.
And when he stabs Sakura, Maeve has like she crumples for real, and has a bit of like a flashback to her and the man in black in the cabin. This dance scene is so amazing.
Yeah.
This fucking music is so good.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And she's coming at him, and I really was like, where's security? Because they've got to know they should not be letting this bitch anywhere near him. This is like when somebody climbed on stage during that Beyonce concert. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
The minute she reaches for her hair, I knew it was going down.
Yes, exactly. And he's all distracted because she's stroking his face and flattering his ass, and he doesn't know that shit's going to be a weapon.
And she fucking takes his head off.
Yo.
I loved every second of it.
She digs that shit into his jaw and saws on it with every ounce of strength she's got all the way around his head until that shit comes all the way off like a fucking, like nearly headless Nick.
It's like a hamburger bun where it's just like got a thin piece that's holding it together, and he stands up and the whole head like flips over to the side. Yep. And then just drops, and it is gruesome.
No headless hunt for this guy, am I right?
Oh man.
And there's something like they all get her up like they're about to be like, we're going to execute you as punishment, and I'm like, yeah, but then what? Because this guy's still dead, and I just really wonder what y'all are going to do without somebody like...
Right? What's next?
Yeah.
What's next step? So they have her and Maeve kneeling, about to like take the swords to the back of their necks, and Maeve is hunched over, and then she just kind of like... She doesn't stand up, but she like raises up.
Well, first she tells her, you are a true mother, which I really liked that line, I have to admit. Because it was just like... Yep, you did the thing I would have done. Good on you, lady. That is your duty as a mom. Yes. But then, yes, as you say, she like straightens up and seems to focus. And then all of a sudden these two dudes like turn and look at each other like, oh, fuck. As they're raising their swords. And then shit just hits the fan.
Yeah. And this shot is amazing. There's one where Maeve is like kneeling still, but all the blood splatter behind her is in slow motion. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, when that was happening the first time, I was like, do you see this? It's just, yeah, that is really quite an effect. And she's just got this focus because I imagine she can't just be like, kill each other. I think she has to really like make sure to continue that command. Because I feel like unless she keeps it going to a point, they may just stop, right?
Right. Yeah, it's like because all the fighting is happening, and then she walks in slow motion one way, and Akane walks slow motion towards Sakura's body the other way, and all the fighting is going on. And it does feel like there's like an initial command she has to give, but she has to sustain it for just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, and that's pretty much it. She goes and she picks up a sword, and then there's like a huge horde of people, like running, screaming towards them.
Yep.
And what was her last line? She says, I have a new voice.
I think I found my new voice. It's time to use it.
Yeah.
Dun dun.
Yeah. So, yeah, what do you think? I know you said you're not a huge fan of how this seems to be working with her, whatever this is going on, that she can be like, use wandless magic.
Yeah, right. Wandless and nonverbal magic. It's a twofer. Yeah, I just like, if they explain at some point to us how she's managing this, then I'm fine with it. At this point, I'm kind of like, this is...
Well, it's a very new extreme development, right? Like,
yes.
It's one thing to...
It was like yesterday, right?
And she didn't know she could do it. So she's, as surprised as we are. Any things you'd like to see next?
Well, I would like to see Maeve be like the Matrix and suddenly just know how to sword fight. I'm down for that. I figure she's got that to access somewhere in her brain. And I would like to see... I just want to know more about how this malfunction is working out here. I don't know if they're going to stay in Shogun World for very long. I don't know how you get from there to whatever the name of the world is where they were in. Is there a name for it where his daughter was?
Oh, you know what? I don't think they gave us a name. Just that what type of period it was in, but I don't know if it had a catchy name.
Yeah. But I'm wondering if they like pass over into another part of the park yet again, or, and I want to know what the hell's going on with Aberforth.
Abernathy?
That's the one. I was about to say Abercrombie. There's a lot of Aber names out there.
Who knew there were so many?
Abracadabra.
I still call the fucking curse for Harry Potter that. I can't help it. Can't help it. I know that's not what it is.
That's where she got it, though.
Of course it's where she got it.
Yeah, that's where the etymology of it is from.
We didn't get any Bernard this episode. We saw him lurking in the lab at the beginning, but, he didn't say anything really to us.
Yeah, and there was something about, like, because I think Strand says something like, well, that was a pretty great story you came up with. And he says it like he's talking to Bernard, which for a second made me go, like, does he think Bernard is full of shit? And then I was like, or is he kind of talking to Ford? Because it seems like Ford put all of this in motion. But I'm not sure how many people realize that.
Yeah. There's the camera does kind of linger on Bernard as he says that, too.
Yeah, like, I think he might think that Bernard is a spy, and that everybody who wound up wiped, Bernard did that shit. Because that was, like, his job. And
Bernard told them, when they first found all the bodies, that he killed them.
What?
Remember?
What?
Earlier in the season, when Strand and Bernard and whoever else, they come to the cliff and they see all the bodies in the water, and they're like, "What happened?"
Oh yeah, that's right. And he says, "I killed." That's right.
Right. So now they're in the lab recovering the bodies. So I guess what has happened is Bernard has expanded on that, but we just haven't seen it.
Right. And whatever it is, Strand doesn't seem to be buying it anymore.
All right.
I love when you just finally decide, all right, this is where I stop responding.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is your part
the
of
line.
This is time for you to shine. This is all you here.
Yeah, I don't, so, Like, part of me wants to say I want to see more of Bernard and what's going on with him, but I also am really savoring the fact that I don't know what's going on with him and kind of don't want to know yet. Does that make sense?
Okay. It does. It does.
I'm enjoying the mystery.
And this is we're halfway through now, episode 5.
Yeah.
So,
and I should mention Nick Leo, who is one of the hosts of Day 11 podcast, which you all may remember from a couple of promos that we have done. He sent me an email suggesting that we record, is it this episode and the next one? Mm-hmm. Right on top of each other. But Rashawn has a day job, and we just can't make that work with our schedules. Yeah. So, because she did like the idea.
Yeah, I thought it was a really fun idea. But then trying to implement it turned out to be a little bit more like, okay, so how is that going to work? We're going to, do this and then stop and then go watch the next episode and then come back and record?
Yeah.
That's not going to work because that'll be way too late for me.
And we could have done Saturday, except that almost every single Saturday, I have one Saturday with no recordings per month. And that is booked, weeks in advance. So, there were no free weekends to do that.
Yeah. It would have been fun to do it. And since we can't, I want to ask you after we do get around to doing 6 if there are things that you wish if after you see episode 6, mm-hmm. do you look back and go, oh man, that would have been cool because then we could have said X, Y. You know what I mean? I'm curious to see what you think about the idea after you've seen both episodes.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll see. But yeah, you guys should all check out Day 11 podcast. By the way, they are right now doing Better Call Saul, which is just about to wrap up, and then they're going to be getting into 13 Reasons Why, and around election time, they're going to start with House of Cards. Yeah, House of Cards is I've got a real up and down with.
Somebody asked me, I had a thing last weekend, and we were talking to a woman there about the podcast, and she was like, oh, do you guys do 13 Reasons Why? And I'm like, no.
Yeah, I kind of react to 13 Reasons Why the way that I react to Handmaid's Tale when people ask if I would cover it, and I'm just like, nah.
Yeah. I watched the first season. It was pretty good. I didn't watch the second season.
Yeah, it's not a quality thing. It's just like, I'll just read the news, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't need more of that kind of thing in my life.
Yeah. I definitely would not have wanted to talk about it, though.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
But, as you all have heard, Day 11 podcast, the original concept was that it was a WestWorld podcast about WestWorld podcasts. So they don't do the exact kind of, coverage that we do. And obviously there's not, the unspoiled aspect of it either. But yeah, you should check it out, day11podcast.com, or search Day 11 Podcast on your podcast apps. And I just want to mention that the Spoil Me feed is live on iTunes, and I just wrapped on 2 books. I finished So You Want to Be a Wizard, and I finished the first in the Iron Druid Chronicles called Hounded. And it just feels really good to finish 2 books for something that I started so recently. It's very satisfying and makes me feel like things are successful. And I really recommend reading some of these and following along with me. These people are picking good shit. And the last chapters of So You Want to Be a Wizard wrecked me. I was crying on camera, trying to read this passage out loud, and I couldn't get through it. I had to stop and take a break and talk about something else and come back to it and try and finish it, because it was just so much more moving and emotional than I expected. And I have wound up crying on camera a couple times. So if you want to watch me cry on camera, you should definitely come to some of the Spoil Me episodes that I have been doing lately. Also, I just finished a live read on some stuff for the Sunshine episodes, and Rosalie, who commissioned the episode, had me live read some of the most uncomfortable text. I read some of it aloud to Rashawn.
Oh, it was uncomfortable, guys.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it.
I looked very accusingly at the camera as I realized what she had done to me. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff going on with that. So if you want to find those, you can check out the Spoil Me feed on iTunes. There's also a group, facebook.com/groups/spoilmepod. You can commission stuff yourself at unspoiledpodcast.com/shop. And you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/unspoiledpod, to find all of the events for what's going to be coming up in terms of live recordings. And that way you can come hang out in the chat and, commentate. You can conversate with me.
You beat me to it. I was just about to say that.
What song is it where he's like conversating about whatever is that Chingy? I think it is Chingy.
Maybe. I am not who you want to ask about Chingy songs.
You want to come home with me. I'm only one call away. You know that song? Conversate about political subjects. That's what it is. He says conversate about political subjects, whatever starts.
He doesn't say politic? How do you say conversate and don't say politic?
He says conversate about political subjects, I think he says.
Oh my God, that's so half-ass.
Well, I mean, nobody has ever said, Chingy, you are a thorough rapper. Did you see that song I sent you? All right, I'm not doing this right now. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. Anyway, guys, we have a lot going on in Unspoiled World. I just recorded the first episode of Doctor Who yesterday, so that's going to be going up really soon. It'll take a little while before it's available on iTunes, because iTunes just takes a stupid amount of time to approve that stuff, but if you're a patron, you'll get access to it way sooner. And I will alert you all, of course, when that is live. And I'm starting Black Mirror as well with Miles for patrons $5 and up. And we just did Nosedive, which was interesting. So Miles and I don't agree on a lot about that episode, but I think that makes for a good conversation. So anything you want to add, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
All right.
We're getting into the juicy part of the season, so I'm excited.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week with a new episode. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.